Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samar Naderi. I'm a PhD student in CNRS, Institut des Sciences Cognitives Marc Jeannerod in Lyon, France. And I'm glad to be here today with you to present you our project on the developmental trajectories of feature integration, evidence from frequency tagging EEG in infants. This project is in collaboration with Jean-Rémy Hochmann, who is my wonderful supervisor as well, Émilie Serrail and Céline Espriet. In this project, we are aiming to characterizing how do infants see the world, and more precisely, how do they see objects. We know that visual acuity improves a lot in the first month of life, and we have good knowledge about the development of color perception and other basic individual visual features. But seeing an object is more than seeing all of its individual features separately. However, its features, including color, shape, texture, must be integrated into a coherent and unified percept. These processes accounted for the classic model of feature integration initially proposed by Anne Treisman in 18th. This model assumes that perception has two stages. In a stage 1, also known as pre-attentive stage, individual visual features are processed automatically, separately in parallel, and we have construction of one map per feature. So here, for instance, we have separate representation of color and shape of the visual stimuli. The perception of conjunction of features takes place in the second stage of perception and requires focused spatial attention. So here, once attention gets focused on the target object, which is here the blue triangle, then only its features can get integrated and attributed into a single percept. The main evidence for this model comes from the visual search task. In this visual scene, if we are instructed to detect the blue triangle, that's an easy task because the blue triangle here has a unique feature that differs from other surrounded distractor, which is its blue color. So this difference attracts directly, automatically, and spontaneously the attention, leading to the perceptual pop-out effect of the blue triangle because it's the only blue stimulus. But if the blue triangle is not the only blue stimulus, then it doesn't require attract directly, automatically, and spontaneously the attention. So here, to detect the blue triangle, so its detection is much more effortful. So we need to switch the attention from one element to another until attention gets focused on the blue triangle. So here, to detect the blue triangle, we need to perceive the conjunction of blue and triangle. Now, going back to our main interest, what do we know about the feature binding in infancy? Research studies on feature binding in infancy suggest that there is no feature binding in young infants before 6 or 7 months. But the absence of feature binding in young infants is controversial. Infants appear to have rich and relatively detailed perception, allowing them to discriminate and categorize objects and animals. This is why we designed an experiment to test whether infants, especially young infants below 6 months, do feature integration. To do so, we use a paradigm called the frequency tagging EEG paradigm. The logic of this paradigm is that we show a stream of visual stimuli, colored geometrical figures, so 3 shapes, 3 colors, that represent them at 12 hertz. So 12 hertz means that we show 12 images in 1 second in each cycle. These images appear to be presented in a fully random order, but there is a unique regularity among them. This regularity is the conjunction of one specific color and one specific shape. For instance, here the blue triangle that appears each 5 images among 12 images, so at the specific frequency of 2.4 hertz. Importantly here, there is no other regularity. There is no regularity in the representation of any color, and also there is no regularity in the representation of any shape. So the only regularity is the conjunction of a blue triangle that appears at 2.4 Hz. This is how it looks like, our stimuli. As you can see, it's really fast. So we present this stimuli to infants while we record their brain activity using electroencephalography. And once we have the data, we transform it into the frequency domain, and we look at the frequency spectrum. And the assumption here is that if, and only if, infants detect the regularity of conjunction of blue triangle, we should observe a peak, a response at 2.4 Hz and its harmonic in response to this regularity. This is an example of what we expect to see in infants. It comes from a pilot study in adults. On the y-axis, we have the amplitude, and on the x-axis, we have the frequency. And as you can see, we have a peak at 2.4 Hz and the other harmonics, and this is what we expect to see for infants. Now, let's see infants' results. These are the results of cluster mass permutation test that I'm going to show you. We began with 9 months old, so a group age for which we already have evidence for feature binding. And the cluster mass permutation test revealed a significant response at 2.4 Hz and is harmonic in response to the regularity of conjunction of blue triangle. And on the topo plot, the black dots show the significant clusters in response to this regularity. Then we went down and we tested 6-month-old infants, a group age for which feature integration is disputed. And for them, again, we found a significant peak at 2.4 Hz and other harmonics in response to the regularity. So the same result as what we found for 9 months. Then we tested 4-month-old infants. And the group age here is not complete yet, but even with 4 months old, we found a significant peak at 2.4 Hz and is harmonic. So the same result as what we found for 6 and 9 months old. So importantly, our main result here is that we found a significant response in conjunction condition for 4 months old. Again, when we have a response at 2.4, it means that all these group ages, 4 months, 6 months, and 9 months, detected the regularity of the conjunction of blue and triangle in the visual stream. So our results would suggest that feature integration, so the binding of color and shape, exists in young infants as young as 4 months. Now, going back to the feature integration theory, feature integration takes place in the second stage and requires attention. So our results would suggest that attention is also fast and efficient at 4 months. But attentional system is much more immature at 4 months than at 9 months. And we have data suggesting that attention accelerates by the factor of 2 or 3 between 4 and 9 months old. So all this feature integration theory and immature attentional system in infants brought us to these 2 predictions. So we would have predicted that the perception of conjunction, so that requires feature integration, must be weaker than perception of an individual visual feature that doesn't require necessarily feature integration. And as younger infants have more immature attentional system, so feature binding must be weaker for them compared to 9 months old. This is why we ran the second condition that we called it one feature condition. Here, the regularity can be detected only by tracking the color. We can see that here, the blue triangle is the only blue stimulus, and other stimuli are either orange or green. So, to detect the regularity here, you just need to detect the blue, and you don't need necessarily to integrate features. And this is how it looks like our stimuli for this condition, and you can see that just the blue triangle pops out because it's different from other stimuli. And just to remind you, this is our stimuli for the conjunction condition. And be aware that now I'm telling you what is the regularity here. I'm telling you the regularity is the blue triangle, but to infants, we give no instruction. They don't know what is the regularity here. And they should detect it, and we should see it if it's the case. Now, the results for the one feature condition. So for all of our group ages, 9 months, 6 months, and 4 months, we found a significant peak again at 2.4 Hertz, and it's harmonic in response to the regularity of the color. So here, our main result here is that there is no difference between these two conditions. So I should remind you that the presentation, the stimulation frequency is really fast. It's at 12 Hertz. And also, infants have immature attentional system. So 9-month-old infants have immature attentional system, and 4-month-old have much more immature attentional system. So this immature attentional system should have superior effect on the conjunction condition than on the one feature condition. But this is not what our results suggest. So all this together brought us to this idea that the representation that we are detecting here is not the feature integration that takes place in the second stage and requires attention, but rather it's the pre-attentive feature integration in the first stage, or a holistic representation, which means that when we see an object, we see all of its features together. And if you are more interested to know about a perceptual pop-out effect, Sarah Daucher yesterday presented her amazing work as a poster. So if you want to hear more about it, you can contact her. And thank you all for your attention.